again, bottling another start. Water is wet. Norris can't do restarts. But he has set the fastest lap though with a 1:25.11. Sainz has set the fastest sector 1 though. Verstappen is up to 6th. Russell down to 7th. What a horrific bad start that was by George. Albon 9th. Both on hard tyres. Ocon, Tsunoda, Stroll and Bottas on hard tyres. Alonso's 10th. And of course, if you're wondering, yeah, Colapinto is making his F1 debut in the place of Logan Sargeant, who has been sacked for crashing the car too many times. And Colapinto's job is just to make sure he gets the car to the finish. And of course, I think he would like to expect to try and finish ahead of the two Saubers. Hello to the one person watching. I apologise for being late, but of course, my internet connection isn't working very well today. Can't believe George Russell screwed a startup. Apparently, he got way too close to Piastri, who made a monster start. My God, Piastri's just set the fastest lap with a 1:24.7. One hell of a start there by Oscar Piastri. And my God, Norris. I mean, Norris has got a 70-point cap to close on Max Verstappen, and truth be told, he is not making the most of the opportunity to really rub the salt in the wound for Max. Red Bull might finish. What? What, finish third in the constructors? Yeah, possibly, but I have to say, Norris. Oh my God, Norris! Seriously, I think we're going to see team orders later on if Norris can overtake Leclerc. We might see team orders at McLaren later on. And, well, they're about to complete 5 laps now. And how much was it? Piastri's 8 tenths ahead of Leclerc. Norris is 2 seconds behind. Oh, and Leclerc's now set the fastest lap. Hope Oscar does this more often. Lewis goes purple. Lewis, oh man, that's interesting. But he's down in 5th. My God, I mean, the top 5 are actually really close in terms of lap time. It's just the 2 Red Bulls are actually slow this weekend. I mean, looks like Red Bull have a car that's 6 tenths slower than what McLaren have got. Hello there, John Cartier. I hope you're doing well this afternoon. It's actually a bit nice around where I live in Britain, but oh, Charles Leclerc went purple. Okay, never mind. But I was going to say, but Lewis is only, what's his fastest lap is only 0.17 tenths slower than Leclerc. So has to be said, though, of course, Russell is very much stuck in the Red Bull sandwich right now, with, of course, the 2 Red Bulls stuck on the hard tyres, trying to wait and pounce for someone in the top 5 to screw up later on in the race. I don't know why you're desperate for Sainz and Hamilton to beat Norris. I mean, I know some people have got an agenda against Lando due to the fact that, I have to say, Lando's not necessarily made the most of his opportunities to win races this season. And once again, he's had another dreadful start. And we have to remember, Lando Norris has never won a race from pole position in his short F1 career. So, purple sector 1 for George Russell. pretty safe to say the top 4 cars are clearly faster than the pack. I mean, Albon is already 3.5 seconds slower than Albon, then Perez, I beg your pardon. Lando did have a better start, but Piastri and Leclerc were like a pair of rockets off the start line. Oh, and Hulkenberg, it looks like it's just had a pit stop. Once again, Hulkenberg trying to gamble on pit strategy, because of course he's now dropped to last place again. Haas and Hulkenberg always going for the alternate strategy. Fastest lap for Piastri, 1:24.4. He is incredibly quick so early on, and Lando is just, well, Lando seems to be biding his time at this point. I'll say the pace of the McLaren and Ferraris is clearly ahead of what Mercedes and Red Bull have got, because Hamilton is beginning to get left behind a bit. Tsunoda, oh yes, Tsunoda's gone to the pits. What's happened to Tsunoda? Oh, Tsunoda's out of the race. I've seen his name on the, what's it, track map, and he's just stopped in the pits. It's over. Well, I guess will F1's agenda against Daniel Ricciardo continues. What a shame for Yuki. Ricciardo is up in 11th place now, so I mean, Ricciardo's having a good race by his standards. He's only lapping about just over a second slower than the race leaders. But has to be said, there's definitely a huge gap emerging between the top 8 and the rest of the pack. I mean, Albon is now almost 5 seconds behind Perez after just 9 laps of racing. So no matter how bad things get for Perez, you can always be sure that he will be finishing 8th at the worst. Oh, collision with Tsunoda. That's why Hulkenberg pitted early, and of course Tsunoda's retired because of car damage. That's really unfortunate for Tsunoda. I wonder what Hulkenberg will say about that collision later after the race is finished in his post-race press conference. Of course, Hulkenberg's now switched to hard tyres, having had to pit for repairs. Of course, say it. I know Monza is one of the fastest tracks on the circuit, but it does not offer that many opportunities to overtake, I'm afraid. Oh, Hulkenberg's off penalty. Hulkenberg is getting a 10-second penalty for Hulkenberg. Well, any chance of points for Nico is definitely out of the window. Unless something crazy happens. Pinto is now up to 16th place, which is a solid debut for the Argentine racer. Of course, this is the first time we have an Argentinian driver competing in an F1 race since Gaston Massacani at the 2001 San Marino Grand Prix when he was driving for the Prost Acer team. Of course, Prost were using Ferrari engines and they had their engine deal sponsored by Acer that year. Of course, that was the last time Prost were competing in Formula One, and of course, Gaston Massacani was very much only there because of his pesos. Ricciardo's picked up a penalty. Oh, I wonder why. Ricciardo's picked up a penalty. Goodness me, what's he done? Now, McLaren are only 2 points behind Red Bull and the Constructors, yeah, I've got to say it. McLaren have got to win the Constructors' Championship minimum. As for Lando Norris, I think, I'm trying to calculate, he should be getting 15 points from this race if this was to be the result at the end of the race, and Verstappen is heading for 8 points. So unfortunately, Lando is only going to close the gap to about 63 points, which is pretty poor when he could easily be closing it down to 52 points. Hamilton's overtaken Verstappen. What's happened to Russell? Russell's down in 8th. My God, Russell is having an absolutely terrible race today. Perez is up to 7th. What is going on? Didn't PlayStation sponsor Prost? Oh, yeah. PlayStation did sponsor Prost, but that was like the year, that was back in 2000. And of course, Gasly's just had a pit stop. I don't know what happens to Gasly, but whether that's strategy or some car damage, but he's pitted and he's come out 11 seconds ahead of Hulkenberg. So Hulkenberg's collision with Tsunoda was extremely costly. Russell is pitting. Russell is pitting, folks. Russell is in the pit. Oh, he's had front wing damage, yeah. Yeah. And Ricciardo's coming to pit as well. So I think a lot of drivers will switch on to the hard tyres since, of course, there's not really that much tyre wear around this track. Russell's down in 16th, Ricciardo 17th. I wonder where they're going to come out in front of Gasly. Gasly overtakes Ricciardo down a pit straight. But Russell does maintain position ahead of the Alpine. So 10.5 seconds. Yeah, that's an impressive pit stop for Mercedes, considering it is a front wing change. It's pretty good work by the Brackley boys. Just so you know, I'm actually charging my phone. That's why I'm actually holding it up like this today. Oh, right. Hello there, Silverback. I hope you're doing well. Oh, yeah. Oscar was apparently under investigation yesterday. That was pretty for pit stop release. Yeah. Thank goodness the FIA didn't press any charges against him for that. And coming out to the pit lane is... Oh, Alonso's just pitted. Yeah, down in 15th. And Colin Pinto is now in the heady heights of 12th place. Of course, he's still yet to pit along with the two Saubers, but... Hey, I mean, at least he's beating the two the most rank amateur team in the sport right now. I have to say, Lando Norris is now 3.7 seconds behind his teammate in a race where I think he really honestly needs to win if he's going to have any chance of fighting Max Verstappen in the championship. I mean, we've only got, what, 8 or 9 races remaining in the calendar? This is not good enough for Lando. This is not good enough. He's got to try and get the race win, and I think getting that sort of result requires him to actually overtake Leclerc. And then, of course, if he can't get into second place, then, of course, he can try and trigger team orders later on in the race. But, oh dear, Norris. But as it stands, Piastri is in cruise control. Norris touches the gravel. Oh God, Lando, you're getting very hot under the collar there. Sainz is now 7 seconds behind the race leader. Sainz is definitely really not in contention to win today. I have to say. Russell has set a purple sector 1 as I speak. Lando is pitted. Lando goes to the pit lane. Lando realizes he's wasting and losing time behind Leclerc. This is an undercut by McLaren's number 4 driver, who has gone into this race 70 points behind the championship leader, Max Verstappen. A 2.2 second pit stop. Very good work by the Woking boys. And Norris comes out in 9th place, just behind Esteban Ocon. Of course, Magnussen's pitted, and that's now promoted Stroll into the points. Colin Pinto's up in 11th. Of course, still yet to pit, but can you just imagine what will happen if they actually try out a safety car? Like, Colin Pinto would actually be 11th on the road if the safety car appeared. Another purple sector by George Russell. I mean, getting very, very slippery in a straight line in sector 1, but car doesn't seem to be that good when he has to try and negotiate the chicane and the Lesbos in sector 2, to be honest. Leclerc's pitting. Leclerc is in the pits, everyone. Along with Hamilton, who's also stopped. So, well, I wonder how this is going to work out for Leclerc and Hamilton. Of course, that's Sainz now up to 2nd. Yet to pit, along with, of course, the 2 Red Bulls, who are going to try and, I think, well, they've got some actual fresh air in front of them, so they don't need to pit immediately. 2.5 and 2.3, yeah, that's pretty standard for Ferrari, Mercedes. Not as good as McLaren, but, well, Norris needs to get a good outlap, a really good outlap, but he has got a lot of space in front of him. He is about 3 seconds behind Albon, who obviously is yet to pit, so that should give Norris at least a couple of laps to try and get some fast laps in. Apparently someone's under investigation. Yeah, Piastri's now... Well, on my map, I think I'm about a couple of seconds behind you, but it does look like Piastri will pit. Yes, he will. Sorry, my feed is a bit slow compared to maybe a couple of yours. Probably about 5 seconds, but I can see Piastri now coming in a pit. Norris has jumped. Yeah, Norris did jump Leclerc. Yeah, great pit stop there by McLaren. How did I not notice? Like, Norris did produce an amazing outlap, by the way. And Norris is now just... Wait. Yeah, he's now just 1.5 seconds behind Albon, of course. And Norris has just set a personal best of a 1:24.15. So he really should be getting on the back of Albon in a lap's time and blasting past him. But Piastri's now come out of the pit lane and he has kept hold of the net race lead. So Lando Norris is in the net P2, for those of you wondering. Please ignore who's running in the top 3 right now, because, of course, the 2 Red Bulls and Sainz need to pit. Unless those two, unless, of course, I mean, Sainz has definitely got to pit. There's no way you can carry on this long on the medium tyres. As for the 2 Red Bulls, they are on hard tyres, so they could be really trying to stretch out their tyres today. Norris almost exceeded a pit lane speed limit. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got to say, Ferrari ultimately do have a slower car than McLaren, so it's not a surprise that Norris got the job done during the pit stops of getting a faster outlap than the Ferrari. It's not nothing to be ashamed of for Leclerc because he just simply hasn't got a fast enough car, to be honest. And frankly, it's a great job he even managed to jump up into second place in the first place. If Red Bull make those hard tyres last for 32 laps, I will be surprised. Yeah, I mean, that would be an amazing stint. Thank you to the person who has pressed the like button for this video. I hope many more people do the same. Likewise, get us up the algorithm. But 32 laps would be an astonishing stint on the hard tyres for Red Bull. But of course, it will also be a question of whether they can actually try and... I mean, the problem is, if they don't succeed in like making up any time with these hard tyres, then it all could come to pot really, because of course before the pit stops they were in 6th and 7th, and where is Russell? Russell's now up to 11th place. Of course, Stroll and Bottas are still yet to pit. I mean, Stroll and Bottas have been on the hard tyres, so they are trying to really stretch their stint out. But Alonso, who's pitted with Russell, is actually only within about 9 seconds of his teammates. So it's not like, I can't say Stroll's pace is that particularly impressive. And as for Bottas, well, he's just hoping for the best. That's all I can say for Bottas. And Albon's pitted. He's dropped down the order, so he's obviously gone to the pits. Leclerc's got the fastest lap at 23.875. But that's a bit useless because, of course, Norris has got in front of him, so he's just going to be staring at the papayas rear ring for the rest of the race, I'm afraid. Unless he can pull off an extraordinary overtake. Sorry, was that? Red Bull Ferrari tyre deck is horrible. Yeah. I don't know. Is that tyre deck on the medium tyres? Because I mean, to be honest, I think Red Bull are just throwing their name in a hat in the hope for a safety car at this point. I don't really see much other opportunities of a good result today for the Red Bulls. And of course, they are now first and second on the road. As Sainz has pitted, he's probably going to drop down to 5th place or something like that. Well, a net 5th place, obviously, because I don't know where he is relative to Lewis Hamilton. Russell, I have to say, Russell needs to clear Stroll and Bottas. He really needs to clear those two quite quickly, but Russell's pace is not impressive today. And his hard tyres are already 7 laps old, so I think he'll be quite annoyed. But of course, Lance Stroll is finally pitted. That's going to drop Stroll miles down the order, I'm afraid. And Bottas is now 9th on the road. Still yet to pit, but of course, I think Russell is surely going to fly past him. Like, I don't see what benefit Bottas will get out of holding him up, considering the pace of the car. Hamilton is 7th, of course, a net P5. So, yeah, that's worked out quite well for Sainz because he's now got back in front of Hamilton. And to be honest, I think this is more or less where Sainz really should be in terms of his general pace. For net P4. Oh, I know Verstappen knows how to manage tyres, but judging by his performances in the past year or so, I'm not sure I can say the same for Perez anymore. Although it has to be said, Max Verstappen is an extraordinary driver in his own right, so... And his recent lap was about 6/10 slower than Max's last lap, so there's clearly a pace. I mean, one driver is clearly better in both qualifying and in race pace. Leclerc continues to lower the fastest lap, now going down to a 23.82. Norris is not too far off though, but of course Norris is very much in the same situation as Leclerc, that he's also staring at another car's rear wing in front of him, which is his teammate. So I am interested to see if team orders do occur later on in the race for the boys at Woking, because Norris could honestly do with another 7 points or so. Of course, I would not be surprised though if Red Bull probably tell Perez to pit late on in the race so they can snatch the fastest point to avoid Norris eating into Max's championship lead. I just find it weird seeing Tifosi cheering for Hamilton today. Yeah, well, that's not weird, is it? He's going to be driving with them next season. Norris fastest lap, 23.75. Norris is getting the hammer down. Only about by like 1.5 temps, but he is definitely now trying to push a bit more. Magnussen and Gasly have collided. What the hell's gone on? What's going on there? Oh my god, the back markers today are having an absolute kerfuffle out there. Don't know what they're fighting for, because I mean, points is not really that particularly realistic for Alpine or Haas, especially after Hulkenberg's glitter with Tsunoda. And Ocon is up to 8th place, but of course he's still yet to pit, and by god, Ocon is having a great stint. 21 laps on the hard tyres. I have to say, I mean, I think Red Bull, I think the people starting the hard tyres, except for Lance Stroll, obviously, have actually been driving pretty well today. The two Red Bulls, Ocon and Bottas. I think this is very, very solid pace from those four. But of course, it is a question of how long they can hold on for. And Verstappen has pitted. Max has pitted. Yes, you're correct. You are correct. Oh, I really do wonder how is this going to work out for Max. And Piastri's now got the fastest lap, 23.64. But he is only half a hundredth ahead of his teammate in terms of the fastest lap. So both McLarens are pretty much driving at the same pace. But having said that, Leclerc is very much still in touching distance. So Leclerc, I've got to say, is having a brilliant race today despite being jumped in the pit stops. And yeah, Verstappen has come out behind Ocon. Oh, we all know what it's like when Ocon and Verstappen come into battle. And unlike 2018 Brazil, this is going to be a fight for position, because Red Bull have actually got a slow car this weekend. I have to say the pace of the Alpine is actually pretty decent, despite the fact they have a Renault power unit. Thank you for 7 people watching, 2 likes. And Max has come out on hard tyres. Oh, boy, that's not good for Red Bull, not good. Perez has pitted, and he's definitely going to drop down the order. And I wonder what's going to happen with him. Is he going to be used as a roadblock for some of the cars behind? Russell is only 2.4 seconds behind Max, so that has worked out awfully for Red Bull, because considering Russell's pace is not that great, goodness me. And Ocon is now up to a P, well, up to 6th on the road, so he's actually having a great day, to be honest. I mean, he's obviously got to pit, but Max has got past him. Perez is in 8th, yeah. Perez will get past Ocon in a couple of laps. I think this is going to be a matter of when and not if Ocon drops down the order before eventually pitting. I'm not entirely sure this is what Alpine want to try and do with Ocon. But as for, of course, the race lead, of course, Norris is just 2 seconds behind his teammate, as expected. Fastest lap by Piastri, 23.3. Staggeringly quick. As to be said, I think McLaren will be expecting Norris to try and keep up with his teammate in order, of course, in order to trigger team orders, because I think if Piastri pulls away, then I kind of have to argue whether McLaren would be willing to give the race win to Norris if Piastri was to start leading by like 10 seconds or more. Right rear problem for Perez. Ocon has dropped to 8th place as expected, and I think Russell will probably get him in the next lap. And of course, I think Ocon, I'm not entirely sure. He's definitely waiting for a safety car, that bloke. There's the only thing I can really see out of Ocon's pit strategy. But considering there doesn't seem to be that many incidents on track today, apart from obviously Hulkenberg and Tsunoda. And of course, a minor collision between Magnussen and Gasly. I don't really see much happening for Ocon, I'm afraid. It's just simply not a track where you see overtaking attempts happen often at all. Horner. Is that actually real? Is Horner actually begging the FIA again or something? Max, not Perez on... Oh, Max had a 6.2 second pit stop. Oh, right, okay, I got the wrong guy. But Piastri goes fastest again. 23.2. My God, this is going to be quite controversial if McLaren do go for team orders. But I do think it's going to happen because surely the Drivers' Championship is in contention. And of course, you have to remember, Piastri already has a race win from Hungary. So not as if they need to be giving Piastri any more favours for the rest of this season, because Piastri's already got his maiden Grand Prix on the board. And if Norris was to win, I think it would be 25 points for Norris, just 8 points for Max, so that would be the championship lead down from 70 points to 53 points. So surely McLaren have to do team orders late on in the race. I mean, they won't do it now, but I think with like 5 laps to go, we will see Piastri slow down just a slightly bit, as long as, of course, Leclerc is not too close behind. Sainz is 15 seconds behind Piastri. Sainz's race pace has been really poor today. I don't know why you're terrified about the outcome. I think it'll be pretty normal if McLaren sit there and say, oh, well, we had to do it for Norris's championship hopes. There's nothing that controversial about it, mate. It happens. It's happened many times before, you know. Massa gives way to Kimi when they were at Ferrari. Kimi then likewise did so at China a year later after Brazil. You know, Massa did it many times for Alonso at Ferrari. Kimi gave way to Vettel. Bottas gave way to Hamilton. Barrichello obviously famously did it at Austria. And of course, that caused all sorts of drama. But of course, that's mostly because Schumacher was so clearly going to win the championship that year. But frankly, I think ever since then, it's not really that much of a controversial thing. I think that's just the nature of Formula One, I'm afraid. I mean, of course, there's going to be upset fans on social media, particularly Oscar Piastri fans will be upset. And Piastri, 23.088. Almost 2 tenths faster than Norris. And he is beginning to pull a gap on Norris. But of course, Leclerc is doing very well to keep up with the 2 McLarens today. Leclerc has been absolutely... I think I would give Leclerc probably an A grade for his performance. Just so quick in a slower car. Oh, right. You think Max will get angry at Red Bull? Yeah, but Max is always angry. So what are you terrified of? Like, who the hell cares? Max has always been known for his bad temper, so there's nothing new there, is there? Although I have to say his pace in the second stint has been really poor. I mean, he is now, what, 7.5 seconds behind Hamilton. So, yeah, I mean, Red Bull, I mean, all they can hope for is to try and beat George Russell, and that's it. And I think this is damage limitation for the Milton Keynes boys. McLaren are just 1 point behind Red Bull in the constructors. Yeah, well, I think that's absolutely deserved as well. I mean, frankly, McLaren do have clearly the fastest car in the sport right now. It's just that their two drivers haven't fully optimized their car this year. So Norris sets the fastest lap, 23.067. Norris finally wakes up, realizing, well, I mean, if he wants to prove himself worthy of a race win, even if he has to resort to team orders, then he has got to show the pace for it. Wait, how the hell can you tie for race fastest lap point? Because Norris, I mean, there's only one person that can get fastest lap, right? First to be said, Norris will be kicking himself in the back of his Achilles heel for making yet another poor, well, not poor race start, but another race start where he's just beaten off the line yet again. Really need to sort out race starts. Really needs to sort out race starts, Lando Norris. Otherwise, I mean, how many more times can he get away with this? I mean, we are still yet to see Lando Norris achieve a race win where he leads from start to finish. It's not happened yet, and until he sorts out his race starts, then we won't be seeing it happen. Yeah, Perez moved over for Verstappen, of course, in the past few years. Yeah, well, this is Formula One, folks. I don't really know why it's controversial. I mean, it's always going to be a few minority of fans moaning about it. Piastri fastest lap, 23.066. And Norris is beginning to get left behind. I mean, oh dear. Oh dear. Oscar now, Norris the point. Oh, you're saying it's tied because obviously the fastest lap bonus point is making the Constructors' Championship being tied between McLaren and Red Bull. I get what you're saying now, sorry. 448 points per team. That is interesting. Although, of course, you have to say Perez has arguably costed Red Bull quite a few points this season due to his poor, quite a lot of poor races from the Mexican during this season, I'm afraid. Of course, today, I think this is probably Perez doing the best he can, because he is actually within about less than 4 seconds of his teammate today. So this is actually Perez doing the best he can, but of course, seems to be that now that Red Bull basically are now I've got the 4th fastest car. This is now a car that's very much more fitting of Perez's level. Because the guy is a midfielder after all. He's not a top team driver, he's a midfielder. And I think, you know, with the brakes having been modified due to an apparent infringement before Spa or something like that, the car just doesn't seem to be able to slow down as efficiently as it did before. So all of a sudden, Max's ability to fight back has been severely handicapped. Now Russell's got in front of Perez. My God. And now Perez has got back in front. So, yeah, Perez has got a bit of work to do against George Russell. Fastest lap, Piastri, 22.96. My God, Piastri is staggeringly quick, and he's 5 seconds in front of Norris. Norris is in real trouble now. He's got Leclerc over the back of him, and Pierre Gasly has pitted. I have no idea what's going on with Pierre Gasly today. Today has been an absolutely awful race for Pierre. Outstanding in Zandvoort, but this weekend he's just completely lost. And Ocon is in 10th place. So, goodness me, the tables have flipped again at Alpine because it just seems to be those two are the two most... I mean, the inconsistency just sees them swapping places weekend after weekend. And Norris is only 7/10 of a second ahead of Leclerc on the road. This is pretty alarming. Of course, Piastri is now coming to lap cars with Gasly just in front of him. Unfortunately, Pierre Gasly is going to have to give way and allow Piastri to lap him. I have to say, though, what's in the back markers, general speed has actually been quite good this weekend. And, of course, Pierre Gasly is the first driver to be lapped after about 32 laps in a race. And another driver is pitted. It's Esteban Ocon, his teammate. Alpine now pitting their other car. And Ocon is only just going to come out slightly in front of Zhou. Oh, dear. Sakir 2020 was one hell of a performance by Perez. Yeah, I know. The Renault Power Unit workers are protesting. I did say on Twitter that no matter how bad things get in Britain, you can always be rest assured the French will still be protesting. Like, because obviously, I mean, the protests in Britain have now died down, but yet, despite the fact that we're the ones having real life problems, the French have decided to start protesting again. Of course, I know what's it with the news that Alpine and Flavio Briatore are looking to move on to Mercedes engine for the foreseeable future. That means that with no one wanting Renault F1 power unit engines, it looks like obviously the factory in Vries is going to be shut down because there is no demand for those engines anymore. 3.3 second pit stop from McLaren. Well, I mean, yeah, McLaren are leading the race, so it's not what. But Norris has pitted again. Oh, sorry, I didn't know. I was too busy talking to you. And Norris has come out in 6th place. Oh dear. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with Piastri. I mean, I don't know whether it was Norris' decision to try and get away from his teammate. So, I mean, that stint only lasted about, was it 20? Not 20 laps. I think about 17 odd laps on the hard tyres. That's not very impressive, I've got to say. Leclerc sets the fastest sector 1. But he is 5.5 seconds behind Piastri. I'm going to have to shut the door because they are shouting in the background. Sorry about that. I'm back. And, yeah. Norris is only 2.6 seconds behind Verstappen on the road after making his second pit stop of the race. He's got to make these hard tyres last till the end of the race now. Norris sets the fastest sector 1, but of course we all know who's coming in, who's in front of him, and I think Verstappen. Well, Verstappen is probably going to be looking at his videos and thinking, maybe should I try and hold him up for a bit? You know, try and really annoy Norris, because let's face it, Verstappen is not going to get a podium finish. I mean, he's not even going to get a top 5 finish, so you might as well just try and hold Norris up for a couple of laps and then eventually actually let him pass, because I think Verstappen wants to make Norris sure that he's not going to be able to cut the championship lead as easily as he wishes. Bottas appears has pitted and he's gone a lap down. Don't know what's going on with Bottas now. He was doing very well early on, but I can only presume Bottas has decided to pit early. And frankly, I mean, I don't know why Bottas has pitted early, because I don't know what strategy they're pursuing at Sauber, but frankly, I have no idea what they're doing. Norris, new fastest lap, 22.83. So it does appear to be getting new tyres is very beneficial on this Monza track. Alonso's in 8th, Magnussen's 9th, Albon's 10th. Of course, I'm trying to see Russell's pitted again, that's why. Russell's pitted again. Oh my god, Russell is having the most miserable day. Started 3rd, made a dreadful start, dropped to 7th, then dropped to 8th when Perez got past him, and it's been one miserable day for the Norfolk-born driver, that's all I'm going to say. I mean, this has got to be one of the worst races I've ever seen from Russell, period, really. Just really shockingly bad. 4.2 second pit stop for Russell. My god, Mercedes, not very. Oh dear, what's going on with Mercedes and pit stops? Uncooked steak. I mean, they're not even trying to cook the steak at Sauber. They just put it on the barbecue rack and then he just walked away and fell asleep. That's what's happened to Sauber. They can't even be bothered to try and turn the ignition on at Sauber. Perez has pitted. My god, he's pitted after only 11 laps on hard tyres. What's going on there at Red Bull? What is happening with... Oh my god, this is really strange now. Alonso's pitted, but of course he's done 23 laps on hard, so I can understand what's going on there, but... Perez wants to try the medium tyres. That's interesting. That's very interesting. He's going to try and do 18 laps on the mediums, but of course I presume with Norris holding the fastest lap, I would not be surprised if he just does a late dash to get on the soft tyres to do the fastest lap. One of these cars have pitted. Don't know, what is it with Mercedes and pit stops? I have to say they do have a habit of getting wheel gun jams a lot. It does seem to be one thing that Mercedes used to be good at between 2014 to 2020 when they were winning consecutive championships was doing excellent pit stops, and now they don't seem to have that superpower anymore. Leclerc's actually still within 6 seconds of Piastri, so I've got to say Leclerc's driving an excellent race in terms of race pace. Sainz has more or less maintained this gap of being almost 17 seconds behind, a bit more average, and he's got Hamilton all over the back of him, so I think Ferrari's decision to sign Hamilton for 2025 is very much justified, and I think a lot of Ferrari fans will cheer if Hamilton overtakes Sainz, because that will justify Fred Vasseurs' decision to sign the 7-time world champion, because let's face it, even though Hamilton is now 39 years old, I still think he's a better driver than Carlos Sainz. Well, Norris is 1.3 seconds behind Verstappen, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, is Norris struggling for pace? Because, I mean, I thought he would have swept by Verstappen, which would be closing up to Verstappen much sooner, I beg your pardon, but I think Norris might be trying to bide his time, but of course, Hamilton is pitted. Hamilton is pitted, folks. So, yeah, Hamilton is going to drop quite a few places. Well, he's going to drop to 6th. My God, it's a huge gap between 6th and 7th. I mean, Magnussen's what, 35 seconds behind? Not 35, sorry. Probably at least about 15 seconds behind Hamilton. So that's actually they're about. I mean, Hamilton's about almost a full pitch straight ahead of Magnussen, about 12 seconds ahead of the Danish driver. Gotta say it, Kevin Magnussen is actually having a great second stint. Where's this pace come from Magnussen? I mean, Magnussen, you've got to give him credit. 23 laps on hard tyres. I know he's still yet to pit, but this is absolutely fantastic by Kevin Magnussen. Of course, he does not have a driver 2025, but my God, this looks like Kevin Magnussen from back in 2018 has returned out of nowhere. And Russell is just going for to Perez. So, I mean, Russell and Perez are having a heated ding-dong today. My God, I mean, Perez is going to be so annoyed. He can't beat the Mercedes. Piastri has gone to the pits. pit stop for the race leader, Oscar Piastri, and it's a Ferrari 1-2 on the road. Oh my God, just imagine if the safety car suddenly comes out now. I mean, McLaren will be raging. And look at that. I think, Piastri is now, 19 seconds behind Leclerc? I mean, if Leclerc can suddenly pull off an amazing next 3 or 4 laps before he pits for what I would presume to be maybe medium tyres. My God. Could we be seeing Leclerc making a late dash to try and win this race? I think we could. My God, keep your eye out for Charles Leclerc's lap times. I think Charles Leclerc, his last lap was 23.7. And I have to say, the McLarens don't seem to be making much use of their new hard tyres. I think Norris just set 23.1. And he's now 20.9 seconds behind Leclerc. So it's going to be touch and go between those two when Leclerc pits. This has been a fairly average second stint from McLaren boys, I have to say. I have to say their new tyres don't seem to be working as well as expected, but Norris is about now 0.2 of a second behind Verstappen, so that is holding him up as well. Thank you for the 3rd like. God, Hamilton's in no man's land. Absolutely nowhere. No one is. He's exactly, 14 seconds behind Norris. 15.5 seconds ahead of Magnussen. Yeah, he's in a race of his own. Yeah, Norris is going to be so annoyed with himself because he can't get past Verstappen, who is doing an excellent job of holding him up. I mean, Verstappen's going to pit surely, though. Piastri's fastest sector 2, though. Purple sector 2. My God, a 27.9. That's some serious pace from the Australian. Well, Piastri is a popular man on this stream. It's a 22.26 by Piastri. Wow. My God, his race pace has been stunning, I've got to say today. Norris has finally got past Verstappen. 4 seconds behind his teammate. So, we've got a bit of a moral dilemma coming up at McLaren. Do they give Piastri the race win, or does Norris get those vital 7 points for the Drivers' Championship? I think the next 8, 9, 10 laps could be very interesting at Woking. As for Leclerc, well, he's not exactly improved his pace that much in the next few laps, so I have to say it's going to be touch and go between Leclerc and Norris when he comes out. Yeah, this is one of Max's more subdued performances today, but it's not really a case of how fast he can drive. It's more a case of damage limitation for Max, with the brakes having been modified due to some regulations issues. Yeah, Max has literally got one hand tied behind his back. But I think for Perez, I mean, this is more the sort of car he can drive because he's spent his whole career driving all sorts of crap cars in the midfield. Verstappen pits, Verstappen has pitted, and that's going to drop him miles down the order. That's going to drop him behind Verstappen, Hamilton down to 6th. So that means Max Verstappen will only get a maximum of 8 points from today's race unless something crazy happens. Piastri, new fastest lap, 22.06. My God, the Australian is flying out there. He's flying. And he's now 5 seconds ahead of Norris. big questions for Zach Brown on the pit wall. Does he tell Piastri to pull over to give Norris an advantage in the championship, or does he allow Piastri to take his second win of the season? Oh, this is going to be very controversial on social media. I mean, I cannot imagine Norris and Piastri fans being very friendly with each other right now. Hamilton versus Max is spicy. Yeah, well, Hamilton is 13 seconds ahead of Max, so I don't really think we're going to be seeing much tension there, I'm afraid. Max Verstappen is just simply going to have to pull up with the fact that all he's going to get is 8 points. Red Bull have got the 4th fastest car in Formula 1. Oh, and Magnussen has overtaken Perez. Magnussen's up to P8. My God, Perez. Oh my goodness me, Perez. Like, what are you doing losing out to a horse? Like, this is... I know we've already talked about how embarrassing Perez has been this season, but this is just absolutely beyond a joke now. Like, Magnussen has no seat for 2025, so I think that should put into context how bad things are for Perez, who, yes, I know Perez has been given a vote of confidence by the Red Bull hierarchy, but frankly, I do wonder if these sort of performances might well finally see Perez kicked out of the team at the end of the year. Despite the fact, of course, Perez does bring in a lot of money from Mexico. Perez, goodness me, goodness gracious me, and he's only 5.5 seconds ahead of Alex Albon in 10th place. Like, what's going on there? Alex Albon is within 6 seconds of a Red Bull. What planet are we living on, folks? And Ricciardo, he's only 11 seconds behind Perez. But Verstappen is flying now. He's got a purple sector 1 and a purple sector 2, though. So, oh dear. I mean, Perez, mate, you really have got yourself... You have got your knickers in a twist this weekend. How on earth are you losing out to Kevin Magnussen, who has no seat for 2025? That is shocking. That is beyond shocking. It's a new fastest lap for Max Verstappen, 21.745. All of a sudden, Red Bull look quick again, albeit at least about 44 laps too late. I'm glad I'm a team rooter, not a driver supporter. I will sit back and grab my popcorn. Oh no. I know you don't want to support Norris outright, but I think it would be better for the team if they let Norris win this race, because let's face it, the fans and the sponsors don't really care about the Constructors' Championship. It's a Drivers' Championship that gets all the headlines, and I have to say, surely in the next few laps we're going to be seeing team orders come out for McLaren. And Piastri is about to overtake Sainz, so of course I don't know whether Ferrari are going to try and make the two cars go on towards the end, because of course, my God, I think Leclerc could be trying to actually win this race without pitting again. So, I mean, if Leclerc can maintain this pace, he's actually got no race win, so what the hell have I been talking about? I mean, Leclerc was a contender to win the race. Only that I actually completely forgot to think of the fact that he's actually going to be trying to stay on these hard tyres until the end of the race. As for Carlos Sainz, yeah, he's going to get overtaken by Piastri, and it looks like I think Ferrari will try and keep Sainz out and force Norris to overtake him. So unfortunately, I think for Norris, the salt is well and truly being shoved into that wound, because he's going to have to actually get past Sainz on the road. And my God, he's only going to get 3rd place in a race where he honestly should be winning and dominating. And it looks like Norris will be dropping at least 10 points. Absolutely shocking. I mean, Lando Norris, mate, you've already got yourself to blame. You've already got yourself to blame, and you will be only taking, what, 7 points out of Max Verstappen's lead? That is absolutely pathetic. You should be taking 17 points out of Max's lead. I really don't want to keep ranting. Yes, I know Piastri has got past Sainz. That was always inevitable. But as for Lando Norris, the guy who is fighting back to the championship, this is an absolute disaster, because I think it's pretty clear with 8 laps to go, both Ferraris are going to try and going to stay on these tyres until the end of the race. They're not going to do a second pit stop. And it has to be said, hopefully Ferrari are not repeating the same mistake that Mercedes made at Spa, where of course George Russell's car was underweight and got disqualified. Leclerc wants to win this race in front of the home fans. Of course, if he wins today, this will be the second time he's done so at Monza. But he did it first time back in 2019, where of course he was a very lucky boy for when he pushed Lewis Hamilton off the road. But of course, the FIA decided to not investigate because, of course, they were like, well, Hamilton's going to win the championship. And yeah, we've not had any good racing for most of this season. So yeah, here's the win for you, Leclerc. And of course, we're going to hype the living daylights out of you on Netflix. Norris is 66 points behind Max. Oh my God, Norris, you've got to get a move on now, mate. What are you doing, my friend? Like, you've got 7 laps to overtake Sainz, which of course I know you will do, but once you get past Sainz, I mean, you're only going to reduce the championship lead to Max by about, I don't know, 63 points behind, which is absolutely awful considering how fast your car is. That is absolutely pathetic. I mean, 3rd place from a pole position start. Oh, God, I don't even know where to begin with Lando. I mean, I said it before this race. He should have had 6 race wins on the board this season. And with this performance, he should have had 7 wins for this season. But, of course, he's only got 2. So, yeah, I mean, if Lando somehow magically takes a championship win, it's just going to be seen as such a... It's going to feel like a championship win that is taken by default by having the fastest car on the grid and nothing else, because in terms of racecraft and race management skills, I've got to say it's not very good for Lando. Like, he's relying on pure pace alone from his speed in qualifying and, of course, car performance. Yeah, Leclerc deserves to win if he can pull this off. He's only got 6 laps to go. He's 9 seconds in front of Piastri, so I think, yeah, obviously Piastri will be eating into that lead, but I think if Leclerc can continue driving, as long as he doesn't, like, go beneath being a second slower than Piastri, then he's easily, comfortably got this race win. Of course, he was 1.4 seconds slower in the previous lap, so it's going to be a close finish, but of course, if Leclerc can manage these tyres, he's going to very much richly deserve to win. And of course, let's just hope Ferrari pass post-race scrutineering. I mean, I do wonder if the FIA do have the balls to disqualify Leclerc if he does turn out to have an underweight car. Oh, right, you didn't appreciate Leclerc winning because, of course, Sebastian Vettel was still at the team. Yeah, well, Sebastian Vettel spun off halfway through the race and then, of course, did one of the most stupid things by coming out and coming back on the road in front of Lance Stroll, who, of course, then almost crashed into Pierre Gasly. So, yeah, I mean, I know, obviously, the Vettel fans got very envious of Leclerc, but unfortunately, it was very clear that Ferrari's relationship with Sebastian Vettel had practically collapsed halfway through 2018, and Lando Norris has set purple sector 3, but he's got past Sainz. He's less than 4 seconds behind his teammate. I think in terms of team orders, yeah, McLaren, you've got to let Norris pass Piastri. I know you've lost a race win today, but Piastri has got to give Norris second place because there's no race win, and frankly the championship matters a lot more to McLaren. The Drivers' Championship has surely got to matter to some extent to McLaren, because look, as it stands, Norris will only take 7 points out of Verstappen's championship lead. Of course, Max Verstappen does have the point for the fastest lap, so yeah, I mean, my predictions that Perez would pit late in the race has now gone out of the window, and he's only about, what, 16 seconds in front of Alonso, so if he was to pit, he'd drop straight out of the point, which would make him ineligible to take the fastest lap point. So any scenarios with Perez pitting late on is now completely gone. And Verstappen's got the fastest lap point, so I think that's the guy they want with the fastest lap point. Yeah, McLaren, you've got to do team orders. You've got to do team orders now. Like, seriously, there's no point letting Piastri take second place. It's worth nothing to him. He's already got race winners' career. Like, you've got 4 laps to go. Less than 4 laps to go. You've got to do team orders. And you've got... And Norris has easily cleared Sainz. I mean, he's now, what, 4 seconds in of Sainz, so... There's absolutely no threat from Carlos Sainz today, who has been very average, if I'm going to be honest. Now, Verstappen is, what, 32.5 seconds behind Piastri. That is gargantuan. Like, Red Bull are seriously slow now. Like, they're really slow. They are comfortably only got the 4th fastest car on the grid. And frankly, they're a lot closer to the likes of Haas and Williams and Aston Martin in terms of race pace right now than they are to even Mercedes. That is shockingly bad by Red Bull. Red Bull are in dire straits. Sorry, I'm trying to look at, trying to refresh my comment feed. I missed out a lot of comments. I was a huge Perez fan until this year. Oh, God, he's terrible. Yeah, agree. Silverback. Just like Alonso, while I don't rate Leclerc, I think he is a better driver than Russell, Norris, Albon. What? Dude, Leclerc is a better driver than Russell, Norris, and Albon, mate. There's no questions about that. Do you think Leclerc could win Baku? Maybe, but you have to realise the only reason why Leclerc is leading this race is because the Ferrari have gambled on strategy today. So I think if Ferrari can pull off another strategy gamble at Baku, then yeah, obviously, and if Leclerc can hold on to his tyres like this, then yeah, of course he can win at Baku. But of course, next weekend, no, not next weekend, 2 weeks' time, I think it's going to be Singapore. I think obviously Carlos Sainz won there, so maybe Charles Leclerc could win there again. I mean, Charles Leclerc for me is the 2nd best driver on the grid after Max Verstappen. As for McLaren, yeah, you've got to do team orders. McLaren have got to do team orders, surely. Like, what are they doing? Wait, so I'm seeing the points table from Sayregara, who says it's 447 Red Bull and 437 McLaren. Oh, yeah, I think obviously Leclerc leading this race. I mean, McLaren have actually now will still remain in 2nd place. Unfortunately, any opportunities of actually closing the gap to about 1 or 0 points is gone for McLaren. Ferrari 407. Well, yeah, Ferrari can't rule them out. They could actually win the constructors as well if things go well in the next few races. 2 laps to go, folks. No, 1.5 laps to go. And yeah, Leclerc is surely on course to win this race. And I have to say, he's managed to keep the gap 5 seconds ahead of Piastri. He's doing so well to hold on to these hard tyres. 36 laps old, by the way. And the Tifosi are surely shouting for joy in the grandstands. Leclerc is going to bring the bacon home for the Tifosi. No, if I'm going to be honest, I was fully expecting McLaren 1-2 today, but Leclerc has been absolutely outstanding. In my mid-season drivers ranking in my video about when I'm going to leave the UK, I did say that Charles Leclerc is the 2nd best driver in the grid this season, and he's proving it. He's absolutely proving it. And I've got to say, Colin Pinto has been very good today because he's still yet to be lapped. I mean, he's in 13th place. He's 80 seconds behind the race leader. And it looks like Colin Pinto could actually finish on the lead lap in his Grand Prix debut. What an absolutely fantastic debut by the young Argentine driver who has kept the cars out of the barriers, which is one thing he's done. And he's also been very quick throughout the weekend. Not as fast as Alex Albon, but he's going to finish, what, less than 14 seconds behind Albon, which is a brilliant performance. to be keeping on with an experienced driver like Alex Albon is something to be admired for a young driver like Franco Colapinto. Fastest lap point remains with Max Verstappen. Of course, all the cars are trying to nurse the tyres home, but on the final lap, Norris sets the purple sector 1, but let's be honest, that really doesn't mean anything. There has been no team orders at McLaren. I'm just gonna say it. If Fernando Alonso was in Lando Norris's position, he would have been screaming for team orders, guaranteed. I mean, a really ruthless driver like Alonso, Hamilton, Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, they would have all called for team orders, and that's more points down the window for Lando Norris, I'm afraid. Magnussen beating Alonso. Yeah, no points for Alonso. Absolutely no points, of course. We've still got, what's his name? Verstappen still yet to cross the finish line. 38 seconds behind race winner Charles Leclerc. Oh, dear. Norris takes the fastest lap point, 21.4 on the final lap. So that's another point into Max's lead. Where was all that pace? Oh, my God, Lando, you've... Oh. So disappointing, so disappointing. That means Max Verstappen still leads the championship by a mammoth 62 points. So I have to say, Max Verstappen has actually done pretty well considering how slow his car is. 4th fastest car on the grid. 6th place is a great result. Albon gets 10th place. 9th place, I beg your pardon. Magnussen got overtaken on the final lap, folks. And Colapinto on his Grand Prix debut will take 13th place, a great 12th, 13th. I don't know what's going on with the timing board. P12. So yeah, Colapinto did overtake Ricciardo in the last few laps. What a fantastic Grand Prix debut for the young Argentine driver. Albon in 9th place, Magnussen 10th. My God, Alpine will be really annoyed with themselves after this race. I mean, I don't know whether that... I think Williams still remain in 9th place in the constructors, but that's another 2 points on the board for Williams, and that's them closing the gap for 8th place on Alpine. Oh dear, Lando Norris. Who do I think will be the 2 fastest teams at Baku? McLaren and Ferrari, surely. He wins at Monaco. He wins at Monza. Yes, absolutely correct. Charles Leclerc is the 2nd best driver in F1. So let me do the driver scores, folks. What was it? P1, Charles Leclerc. I've got to give him an A-star. Perfectly managed the tyres. Winning in front of the Fosse, taking a win on a weekend where everyone thought it would be a guaranteed Mercedes McLaren one, I beg your pardon, and he's taken the win, all 25 points. What a drive by the 26-year-old Monegasque driver, and these tyres well deserved. Driver of the day for me. It's got to be Charles Leclerc. If you don't think it's Charles Leclerc, then I don't know what to say. I think you're smoking something stupid out there. Great strategy by Ferrari. Great strategy by Ferrari. What year is this, folks? Feels like it's 2004 again. Piastri. Oh, I'll give him an A grade. Of course, he got out qualified by Norris, but of course he beat Norris in the race. So yeah, credit to Piastri. Then of course we've got Lando Norris, B-, got to do better, got to do much better. Sorry, my friend, but you've got to do so much better than that. Question marks over whether we really have got a Drivers' Championship fight. I think it's pretty safe to say Lando Norris needs a DNF of Max Verstappen. I said it before and I'll say it again. Lando Norris needs a lot of divine intervention if he wants to win this championship. 4th place, Carlos Sainz. I'll give him a B grade. did everything he could because, let's face it, he's going to be leaving the team for Williams at the end of this year, and Leclerc is clearly back on form again. 5th place, Lewis Hamilton, B+, very, very nice, tidy race. Of course, he did lose out and qualify to Russell by quite a fair margin, but on race day, Lewis Hamilton proves himself to be the much better driver in race trim. 6th place, Max Verstappen. I'll give him a B grade. Did the maximum he could in a damage limitation exercise with the 4th fastest car on the grid. 7th place, George Russell. Gotta give him a C grade. God awful stuff. Great qualifying, but a terrible race performance. Where he only just about where he got even lost a place to Perez halfway through the race. 8th place, Perez. I'll give him a C grade. Yeah, whatever, mate. I don't care. 9th place, Fernando Alonso. Alex Albon, I beg your pardon. 9th place, Alex Albon. It's got to be an A grade. He's got to be one of the drivers of the day out there. Fantastic performance. Getting 2 points from Williams. But of course, this is a track that does suit Williams, so maybe it's not as impressive as I like to say it is. 10th place, Kevin Magnussen. I'll give him like an A grade. This has got to be easily the best performance I've seen Kevin Magnussen produce for 2 years in Formula 1. But unfortunately, will it be enough to convince another team to sign him for next season? I think it might be a bit too late, I'm afraid. But nonetheless, a superb drive by the Danish driver who rolled back the years today. 11th place, Fernando Alonso. B-. Just something. I mean, Fernando Alonso just doesn't look as good as this year as he did last year, I'm afraid. And I have to say, on another day, I think Fernando Alonso could have got 9th place, but he just didn't seem quick enough today. 12th place, Colapinto, A-star. Absolutely fantastic performance. Coming in at the last minute to replace Logan Sargeant. Kept the car out of the barriers. Very fast lap times throughout the weekend. Staying in touching distance of Alex Albon. 14 seconds ahead of an experienced driver like Albon is nothing to be scoffed at. Well done, Franco Colapinto. Take a bow, my son. Take a bow. And 13th place, Dan Ricciardo, B grade. Did an okay job. The 2 Alpines, Ocon and Gasly, I'll give him a pair of C grades. Bottas, I'll give him a C plus for driving in the points earlier on before, of course, inevitably dropping off. 17th place, Hulkenberg, got in a collision with Tsunoda, so I'm going to give him a D grade. Not the smartest thing, I'm afraid. Zhou is going to get 18th place. I don't know what he did. D grade. Lance Stroll, fraud detection zone award of the day. Like, started well and it dropped off horribly. And frankly, I mean, I'm going to give him a grade of an F because, my God, what a terrible performance. As for Tsunoda, he does not get a grade because he was very unlucky to collide with Hulkenberg earlier on in the race, and he had to retire with about 6 laps only completed. I mean, we all thought McLaren would get 1-2, but gotta give credit to Ferrari and Leclerc. Made those tyres last for 38 laps. The hard tyres last for 38 laps. What an amazing stint, and what a richly deserved race win. Alpine is leading by Driver of the Day award. Oh, it turns out to be a lot of people are shocked that he got points today, but of course, this is a power track, so I mean, this is a sort of circuit that definitely suits Williams' cars because they always do well on low downforce power tracks like Monza. Hence why I've actually not put out, well, I actually did put him in the Driver of the Day award, but of course I know Haas have actually got a car that's more suited to power tracks as well, but I figured that because he got beat by Albon for 9th place, that I would actually pull his name off the Driver of the Day award. Personally, I think Leclerc was the best driver of the day because, let's face it, with those 2 super fast McLarens, like, he really had to figure out a way of holding onto the tyres as long as he did, and he did it with success. Great job, Charles Leclerc. I think that is now his 7th Grand Prix career win, which I think it takes him ahead of Sergio Perez, his second win of the season. Of course, how many race wins did he take in 2022? Was it 4 wins in... No, it was only 3 wins, actually. Goodness me, 22 was an absolute struggle for Leclerc, I'm afraid to say. So, yes, 7 career wins for the Monegasque driver. Easily the most successful driver Monaco has ever produced in F1, but I think everyone knew that weight. I think when he won at Spa for the first time 5 years ago, I think that automatically made him the most successful driver Monaco had already had. At the age of just 21 years old, mind you. Was he 21? I can't remember. No. Yeah, he was 21. Unbelievable stuff there by Charles Leclerc. It's a shame that McLaren do have the faster car this season, because I have to say Leclerc would be doing a much better job of taking the Drivers' Championship fight to Max, if I'm going to be honest. And speaking of which, I think how many points was Leclerc trailing Norris? I think Leclerc was only trailing Norris by about 26 points, and now he's only trailing Norris by 16 points. So, well, I mean, if Max gets a DNF in the next few races and drops points like crazy, don't rule out Charles Leclerc for the championship. Don't rule out Charles Leclerc out of the championship, folks. You heard it here first. Charles Leclerc could be fighting for the World Championship. Unbelievable. Grazie, ragazzi. Yeah, Sainz did a very decent number 2 driver's performance, but unfortunately, I think he's more or less validated Ferrari's decision to drop him, to be honest, because he wasn't really in contention to really get in the way of the McLarens throughout the race, I'm afraid. Just his race pace is beginning to look very similar to that of a 39-year-old Kimi Räikkönen's, where, yeah, you can just tell he's not as quick as well, I mean, the thing with Carlos Sainz, I don't think he was ever that particularly fast, but with Kimi Räikkönen, you could tell there was a definite drop-off between the driver he was between 2007 and 2018. And as for Carlos Sainz, I think Ferrari made the right decision to drop Carlos Sainz now. Like, I've been a defender of Carlos Sainz for quite a few years, but I think Carlos Sainz has more or less achieved what he could have ever achieved at Ferrari with 3 race wins, and I think it is very much the right time for the Scuderia to drop the Spaniard. I mean, he's had 4 years of solid service to the Tifosi, but I think really, frankly, he's not going to improve, because I think he's just turned 30 years old now, so yeah, he's not really going to improve, I'm afraid. Max Verstappen doing the maximum in 6th place. You have just smoked 3 joints in 4 hours. Oh, okay. I don't know about you, but I'm not someone who smokes spliffs, so, okay. Thanks for telling me that, but of course, Max Verstappen, I think, will be satisfied. I don't think he'll be pleased, but I think he'll be satisfied with the fact that Leclerc won the race and Norris only could get 3rd place, which is really quite disappointing for Lando. I mean, Lando, once again, another poor race start. Like, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, I think if Ferrari and Leclerc can improve their package, I think Max Verstappen then suffers a DNF, then I think Max will start thinking about Leclerc instead towards the end of the season instead of Norris. Bottas 22nd. Oh my God, Bottas. Oh my God! It always pours down for Valtteri Bottas. Like, you've got to realise, look, he's clearly a faster driver than Zhou Guan Yu, but he's had no luck this season. He could have had 4 points finishes. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that, but when you drive for a team like Sauber, yeah, forget about it. You're just going to be made to look like a muppet, and I think he's now beginning to see why Kimi Räikkönen retired from Formula 1 when he did 3 years ago, and why Antonio Giovinazzi is not even upset about the fact he got kicked out by Sauber, because Sauber are rubbish. They never keep up any stretches of strong performances ever. They're a garbage team. Like, I don't even care. They're trash. Yeah, you can laugh all you want to say, Regara, but I really cannot stand that team. Like, I cannot wait for Audi to take over and try and actually improve them like BMW did in the late 2000s. 2001, 2008, 2012, 2015, second half of 2018, first half of 2019, 2022. I mean, Sauber were very strong, but inevitably they always drop off. Like, they finished fourth in 2001, fifth in 2002, sixth in 03, sixth in 04, eighth in 05. It's like over the course of 5 years in the first half of the 2000s, it just went from being one of the stronger teams in the midfield to being the worst team in the midfield. So what else can be said? This is the history of the Sauber. In the words of the famous Giorgio Chiellini, this is the history of the Sauber. They always go backwards. They never. Oh, what a shame, Quid 11. What a shame. I mean, Charles Leclerc had a great performance today. Made the one-stop work brilliantly, made those hard tyres last for 38 laps to take an unlikely victory ahead of the McLarens, who really should have got 1-2, and Lando Norris, well, once again, bottled the race start, and he's going to get grilled on social media. I can guarantee you this. I grilled him last week, and I mean, even though he won at Zandvoort, but this weekend is a real major L for Norris. Real major L. I mean, Max Verstappen leads the championship by 62 points now, because of course Norris also got the fastest lap point, so he got 16 points out of this weekend, while Max Verstappen did a great damage limitation exercise by getting 8 points in 6th place. So what was a 70-point lead has only been reduced to 62 points, which I have to say it really should have been gone down to all the way down to 52 points between the pair of them. But of course, Lando Norris struggled the race start, struggling in terms of race pace in comparison to Piastri. And of course, both McLarens being hoodwinked by Ferrari's pit strategy with Charles Leclerc. I've got to say, Ferrari's strategy has been absolutely perfect this weekend. Gotta give Ferrari credit. I mean, it's very rare I give Ferrari credit when it comes to race strategy, but that's what they've done. They've been absolutely brilliant. They have successfully hoodwinked McLaren when it comes to tyre strategy. What a job. What a job. I wouldn't say Sauber have no luck. Sauber is just absolutely terrible. Just a terrible team all throughout. Like, I mean, they're the sort of team that create their own bad luck. Like, they can't do pit stops properly. They can't, I don't know, understand how to hoodwink other teams when it comes to strategy. They always have a mechanical issue. They don't know how to make tyres last. And then, of course, they always leave it up to their drivers to try and produce a miracle. So, Sauber, I mean, I don't even care anymore. They deserve to finish 10th, I'm afraid. Not good enough. Yeah, well, you just explained it out there for everyone watching this video. Thank you, Say, for explaining all of Sauber's problems. But the one thing I will disagree with is that they've been unlucky. No, dude. They always walk into problems. They're the sort of team that create their own problems. They are their own worst enemies. I can't feel sorry for Sauber anymore. Like, I've seen it all before when Kimi Räikkönen was driving with them. Like, Kimi would be potentially heading for a position outside the point, and he'll come into the pits and he'll get like a, 6-second pit stop out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, get lost, honestly. Or they'll forget to tell Kimi that he needs to save fuel, or they'll sit there and think, I don't know what to do with tyres. You decide which tyres to pick, Kimi. Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, this is the sort of problems I know Valtteri Bottas is having to pull up with. And by the way, Zhou Guanyu is running an older car, so, like, Zhou is probably, like, running a car that's still, like, in the same spec it was back at Barcelona, so... Yeah, like, that team is literally, that team is just kidding themselves off, to be honest, and to be honest, I think Zhou Guanyu would probably enjoy being like a reserve driver for someone like, I don't know, Haas, Ferrari, Mercedes, you name it. He'll probably have a happier time just sitting in his arse doing nothing at this point. And of course, thank you for 4 likes. Much appreciated support of the channel. Yep, Charles Leclerc is now very much leading the driver of the day rankings. Very richly deserved as well. 6 votes for Leclerc, 2 for Albon, and 1 for Colapinto. Calapinto, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but great Grand Prix debut for the young Argentine driver. Of course, Perez, Russell, poor performances as always, just not really much to say. Hamilton did a good race. Ricciardo, decent race, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere near close to being one of the best races. But I have to say, Ricciardo's performances have improved as the season has progressed. Of course, his teammate was very unlucky earlier on to collide with Hulkenberg. Stroll was absolutely awful. Well, Stroll was decent in the first of the race, but in the second stint, oh God, Lance Stroll struck again. And frankly, I mean, until Papa Stroll wakes up and realises what sort of driver his son is, then there's no real helping Aston Martin, who, of course, I have to say have been quite disappointing this season. And frankly, I mean, Fernando Alonso doesn't really get any help when it comes to setup and driver feedback, because he's the only one doing it. Alpine, I think Alpine did pretty much had a race that you would expect Alpine to have. 14th and 15th is more or less, I think, the right result for the French team. Of course, the Renault power unit workers had a protest during this week because, of course, unfortunately, with the news of Flavio Briatore trying to negotiate a deal with Mercedes for next year or the year after, of course, there will be a lot of workers out of a job at the Renault power engine power unit at the factory at in France. And then, of course, Zhou, yeah, I've explained everyone now. Magnussen, great race. What a fantastic performance he's had this weekend. But I think it might be a bit too late to save his career, I'm afraid, in F1. I mean, the guy just gets involved in too many crashes and incidents. But, you know, today is a reminder that Kevin Magnussen can be an excellent driver when his head is in gear. Like, when everything is going well, this is the sort of performances Kevin Magnussen can produce. But unfortunately, I think he's going to be looking at a seat at somewhere like IndyCar, sports car racing, and I think I don't really see much of Kevin Magnussen because, of course, his seat is going to be given to Esteban Ocon and Ollie Bearman after this season. So I just don't know where Kevin Magnussen fits on this grid because, of course, Williams have confirmed Sainz and Albon for next year. Alpine have confirmed Gasly and Jack Dowen for next year. Kimi Antonelli has been confirmed at Mercedes, which I think I expected at the start of the season, to be honest. McLaren, Ferrari, obviously Ferrari have confirmed Hamilton and Leclerc. McLaren will continue with Piastri and Norris. Although Aston Martin, you know who's going to be driving with them, Alonso and Stroll. RB will continue with Ricciardo and Tsunoda. So I mean, I think Sauber are the only team that have still yet to confirm their second seat, which of course they've got Hulkenberg in the first seat, and I think that a lot of people think that it'll be Pourchaire filling the second seat. You never know what could happen at Sauber, but I have to say I don't really see Magnussen's face fitting in at Sauber at all. I just can't. It would just be very, very weird to see Sauber decide to sign both Haas drivers this season. It'd be interesting, but I don't think it's going to happen because, of course, they have spent a lot of money on their junior program funding the careers of the likes of Pourchaire and Shane Maloney, and of course, you know, I think they would rather like try and get a return on their investment in terms of their junior program. Bottas almost confirmed to stake. I don't know what to say about that. Like, that's just, I mean, what's the point of a junior program if they're just going to carry on with Bottas? Like, I mean, that's just confirmation that I think both Pourchaire and Maloney are not highly rated in amongst the driver team principals. Giovinazzi, I was in a bad car with an amazing teammate. Yeah, well, I think more than anything, Giovinazzi got screwed over by Sauber, just being a rubbish team, to be honest, more than anything. I don't think it was Kimi that screwed him over. I mean, Kimi was scoring points, but it's Kimi Räikkönen. Of course, Kimi Räikkönen's going to be scoring points for Alfa Romeo. Like, that's what they signed him up for. That's his job. like Roy Keane would say, that's his job. As for Giovinazzi, well, unfortunately, he also was his own worst enemy, because I know he qualified like 6th and 7th at Zandvoort and Monza in his last year, but then he had a dreadful start to both races and ended up with 0 points from 2 weekends where he should have scored points and he got nothing. So I don't know what else to say. Not good enough. But of course, we all know Antonio Giovinazzi has since won the 24 Hours of Le Mans with the Ferrari hypercar team. So I suppose it's worked out very well for Giovinazzi since leaving Formula One. I don't know what to say about Sauber if they were to continue with Bottas. Like, I don't know what to say. That just proves that they're just wasting money in their junior program. Like, what's the point of having a junior program if you don't give Porcher or Maloney a chance? Although I know Maloney's kind of dropped off in the second half of this Formula 2 season. I have to say, though, it does prove that Formula 2 doesn't seem to be worth its meal ticket anymore, because of course we all know Antonelli is like, I don't know, 10th in the championship, Behrman's like 15th, but yet they're going to go to Formula 1. Jack Doan finished like 2nd or 3rd in his last year's Formula 2, but he's got to see Alpine. And the actual champions like Porcher and Drogovic are not going to be in Formula 1 as it stands. Of course, Drogovic, I think his chances of reaching Formula 1 are completely dead now. Like, I can't see an F1 team wanting a driver who's been sitting his arse for the past 2 years, doing very little driving, giving him a chance. And as for Porcher, well, he's been driving in IndyCar this year, but of course, I have to say, I think he's not exactly set IndyCar like. And of course, those 2 races he did in Japan in Super Formula were not that great. So unfortunately, I think Porcher is kind of driving himself out of Formula 1, I'm afraid. And of course, considering Porcher did have a great start his junior career, where I think he won a Formula 3 race when he was just 16 years old, I have to say Porcher is kind of underwhelmed as the years has progressed, because, I mean, he's only just turned 21 years old, but it does seem to be that Porcher's like stock and potential has been very much capped. Of course, Giovinazzi took pole position in a a World Endurance Championship race. Yeah, I think Giovinazzi is better off in sports cars, to be honest. He's just not really that much of a great driver when it comes to Formula 1, because, you know, he's quick in a qualifying lap, but his general race pace is very questionable. I mean, I still think if you put Kimi Räikkönen in sports cars, I think Kimi Räikkönen would definitely beat Giovinazzi. It's just that, unfortunately, Kimi has no interest in sports car racing, because, of course, I think a lot of you will be aware of the fact that I would like to see Kimi Räikkönen go after the Triple Crown, but Kimi Räikkönen is more interested in the career of his son, Robin. Driver of the day votes. Yeah, Leclerc is dominating the poll for driver of the day, 73%, and rightly so. Yeah, Leclerc has clearly been the best driver today. Like, beating a pair of McLarens who have been much faster than the Ferraris. It's one hell of a result. What a race win. Like, the Tifosi will be absolutely ecstatic, pulling off a masterstroke of a strategy. I hope everyone is doing well today. I think put in any last messages in the chat. I hope you're all doing well. Of course, you know, McLaren's race pace was absolutely fantastic as expected. You know, consistently saying fastest laps between the pair of Piastri and Norris, but Leclerc was just so consistent. You know, knocked after the tyres, never like pushed too hard, really smart. I hope he doesn't suffer the fate that George Russell suffered after Spa, because that would be so devastating. But I think Ferrari have actually got everything done properly in terms of preparation and setup. I mean, hopefully we don't see Ferrari get disqualified for underweight car. That would just be far too much banter. Hamilton, I think, did a pretty decent job despite a poor qualifying, but, you know, Russell, I think, will be quite embarrassed with his performance. Perez performed exactly how I expected Perez to perform, to be honest. I don't expect anything from Sergio Perez anymore. I've given up on him. Albon did a great race, getting those 2 points. Magnussen probably reminded everyone what he can do when everything is actually working in his favour. Alonso did the maximum. Colapinto, outstanding rookie debut. In the seat of none other, of course, Logan Sargeant, who I think is very much out of Formula 1 for good, and I don't have any idea what Logan will do next. Ricciardo, well, I mean, he showed some speed, but I have to say, I think he could have done a bit better in terms of the result, but I don't think he was ever getting a point. Alpine did the maximum, although I have to say, Gasly did have a moment earlier on in the race where he did hit Magnussen. Bottas, 22nd in a 20-driver championship. I know a lot of people have been mocking him, but I think he's been hamstrung by an absolutely diabolically awful team. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, Man United and Liverpool are going to be playing. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Who do you support, John Cartier? I have no idea who you support because, of course, I know you live in Norway. I do not watch Norwegian football, I'm afraid. I mean, the only team I know of in Norway is a team named Bodo Glimt and Oslo. So, Hulkenberg got involved in a collision with Tsunoda earlier on, and he was never in contention. Zhou is absolute. Well, I know he's driving an older car, but of course, Zhou is just a waste of a seat. Stroll is Lance Stroll. Who the hell cares what he's doing? He doesn't know what he's doing, and unfortunately, he will have a seat until his dad decides to finally wake up and smell the coffee. Viking, yeah, what a name that is. Viking, proper football club name that is. Viking. My club, Derby County, destroyed Bristol City 3-0 at home yesterday. So, yeah, returning to the championship has been absolutely no problem for the Rams this season. It is, I mean, it's the championship. It's not like that's it's only like the top of the table that's particularly strong in the championship. Like everyone else, like Plymouth, Bristol City, Preston, are just mid. I don't know what you're laughing at. I don't know what you're laughing at. I mean, I did come very close to naming Chelsea as one of my hated teams because I know 10 years ago I definitely despised Chelsea because, you know, the fans they have, like the football they play. But, you know, I mean, let's face it, Chelsea are more of a joke these days. I don't really care about them as much. Although I will say I did like Liverpool when they did have Steven Gerrard, but when he retired, I just went back to hating them. So, you know, rainbows and sunshine, I'm afraid. Oh, Bodo is first. Yeah, Bodo. Roy Hodgson used to be Vikings manager. Yeah. Funnily enough, I was watching a documentary about Roy Hodgson last night. So, yeah, I know I don't think he'll ever return to football management because he is now 76 years old, but he'll probably be working in some sort of football admin role. I mean, he's probably going to be like, he'll probably be like doing some football job when he dies. Like, he'll probably be like in a meeting with like some like administrators and he'll probably drop dead in the middle of like some football board meeting or something like that. That guy is addicted to football, but even though I know like, whilst I know he keeps talking about how well he did in Sweden and Norway and Denmark, I have to say he was never really a top team manager. Like when he went to Milan, Liverpool, and England, he just got found out. There are some amazing drivers who are not in F1. I'd love to know who you're talking about there, Silverback. I know you probably might be talking about someone like Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is a good driver, but the problem with Formula One is that it's a very, very specialist environment where, of course, you get very limited testing time. You've got the Pirelli tyres, which takes a lot of time to adapt to. And even, obviously, drivers like Daniel Ricciardo have had struggles in recent years. And, of course, even the best drivers like Kimi Raikkonen and Vettel have had problems at times. So, you know, Formula One is just a very trying environment. Like, you need a lot of experience. You need to get up to speed quickly. Like, if you don't know if you've never driven a car, then it's going to be very hard for any, like, outsider to jump in a Formula One car and be competitive straight away. That's all I'm going to say. Like, you need to be, like, a test driver or like a Formula 2 driver to understand these Pirelli tyres, I'm afraid. Like, what drivers do in like NASCAR, IndyCar is not relevant to Formula 1 because I know they use like Firestone and Goodyear tyres in those series, so you can't like make the transition across to Formula 1 so easily these days. And of course, because of restricted testing time, I mean, you really don't get that much time to understand the cars, I'm afraid. And of course, Formula 1 also uses the hybrid engines, which is, of course, another thing you have to learn on top of everything. For me, Lance Stroll will actually be seen as somewhat favourably in a few years' time. After he leaves, yeah, but when Lance Stroll is bad, he is seriously rubbish. I mean, Lance Stroll is absolutely rubbish when he's doing terribly. Like, you know, last year he qualified 20th at both Monza and Singapore, and of course he crashed out in Singapore qualifying. And then in Qatar he qualified 17th and struck his trainers. So you know what it's like when Lance Stroll is terrible. He is absolutely he is useless when he's struggling. Kimi didn't screw Giovinazzi over. Giovinazzi was able to learn from Kimi, but he screwed himself out of points. Yeah, Giovinazzi was ultimately his worst enemy. And I also will remember in the Turkish Grand Prix towards the end of the year, like, Giovinazzi was giving team orders to let Kimi go past to try and fight for 10th place, but Giovinazzi said no. So, you know, I think Giovinazzi also kind of ruined his own reputation by being an absolute selfish little so-and-so at times. Like, there were times where the team did try and do team orders to Giovinazzi and say, let Kimi pass, and he said no. So there's not really much I can do with that. I mean, frankly, Giovinazzi did set quite a bad reputation for himself, I'm afraid, at times. And the fact that he did get in collisions with, what's his name, Carlos Sainz at Monza, where both of them were fighting for 6th place on the first lap, and then Giovinazzi tried to go around the outside of the second chicane and spun himself around. So that was really not smart. And of course, we have to remember Robert Kubica was sitting in the second Sauber seat, so he literally cost his team points that weekend, since of course we all know Kubica was never going to score points considering the fact that he hadn't been racing for 2 years, and of course his right arm is permanently damaged, so it's not like Kubica can really drive and really be able to control a Formula 1 car like he used to back in 2010. Some drivers I want you to explain what you're talking about when it comes to, like, some drivers are amazing but annoying F1. Like, I know you get some good drivers in WRC, but like I said, you can't make the transition from like IndyCar to Formula 1 anymore like you could in the late 90s with, what's his name, Pablo Montoya. And even Montoya was doing Formula 1 testing way before he made his F1 debut. Like, he made his F1, he tested an F1 at Williams for the first time back in 1997, so he knew what an F1 car felt like. It's just that he also did a lot of racing in America in the meantime. And I know the same can be said for Jack Villeneuve, who did a year's worth of testing for Williams before he made his debut in 1996. So, yeah, like, you can't just jump into Formula 1 and expect to be quick with very little testing unless you're an alien. Oh, right, okay. Happy pre-birthday, Mr. Seiragara. I hope you enjoy your 22nd birthday, because in a year's time, you're going to turn 23, and like Blink-182 say, no one likes you anymore when you're 23 years old, so enjoy your youth where you have it. I know a lot of people are still staring at the screen. 7 people watching, 5 likes. Thank you so much for the likes. Of course, the race ended more than half an hour ago because, of course, Monza is the fastest track in Formula 1, meaning that the races, unfortunately, do end very quickly here. So I think a lot of us are just twiddling our thumbs, like, just wanting to talk about the race. It's not like Singapore, where, of course, that race will be going on for 2 hours, and by the time that race finishes, I will probably end the stream immediately because I'll be knackered. Charles Leclerc, well and truly deservedly winning the Driver of the Day poll, which, you know, great race. Oh yeah, Russell picked up front wing damage halfway through the race, but I've got to say, even so, that's still pretty poor by George Russell. I mean, 7th from 3rd place, I have to say his racecraft does let him down at times. Thank you, it's my honour, say. You always know that I like to compliment you all the time. But yeah, I have to say, you know, Arnie's style of football is very nice to watch, but it doesn't change my opinion of what I think of Liverpool Football Club, I'm afraid. Arnie Slot does come across as a nice guy, but I think it's pretty safe to say he'll be very apolitical in his time as Liverpool manager because, of course, I don't see him as the sort of bloke who will try and, like, upset people. I just think he'll be he just comes across as a lot more calmer and more mild-mannered compared to Jurgen Klopp, who is a bit of a prima donna, let's just say. Okay, let me just see. I want to see Haas do really well at Baku. Magnussen race ban. Wait, what? Has Magnussen picked up penalty points? Oh, right. Oh my god, Kevin Magnussen has picked up a race ban. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, for the Gasly collision. Well, I don't know what to say, to be honest. Race ban for Kevin Magnussen, that is... Thank you for the update there, Will F1. Yeah, I've just spent the last 5 minutes eating an egg. Sorry, I just wanted to have a break for a moment. Yeah, thank you for the news update, Will F1. Very useful information. Yeah, what a shame. Kevin Magnussen finally back on form, but of course he still cannot keep himself out of trouble. Like, even when things are going well, he's always having a moment where he has to get into trouble and put himself in the risk of getting penalty points. And yeah, it looks like the FI, he's going to have to sit Baku out. He's going to have to sit the race at Baku out, which is quite awkward. But of course, I'm pretty certain that Ollie Bearman will fit in at the last minute. So at least Haas have got a backup plan for Kevin Magnussen. But of course, I have to say that's probably going to ruin Kevin Magnussen's chances of ever staying in the sport again, I'm afraid. I think these sort of things are the sort of things that are killing off Kevin Magnussen's career, I'm afraid. You know, despite his speed and his ability to put off great performances from time to time, there's always a chink in the armor when it comes to racecraft. He always has to get himself, he always has to make contact with another car. It's like when Kevin Magnussen sits inside a Formula 1 car, his car turns into a magnet. Which, I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, I love watching Kevin Magnussen drive, but yeah, he's too aggressive, I'm afraid. I didn't even realise that, Will. Thank you for reminding me the penalty point situation. I mean, for the past year, I've been obsessed about Pierre Gasly's penalty point situation. I know he was having a issue because I know throughout 2022, Pierre Gasly kept picking up penalty points for banter, but now Kevin Magnussen's someone who's got problems with penalty points, and now he's finally gone over the line, and I think he's going to be the first ever driver we're going to see who gets banned because of the penalty point system. So yeah, very, very I can't say I feel sorry for Kevin because he has been warned about his conduct many times throughout his career for the past 10 years, but he's never listened, and unfortunately he's finally got his comeuppance. Like, I mean, we all know about the penalty point system. It's been there in place for about 10 years. Like, I know Pastor Maldonado picked up like 10 points in 1 year, and he was like walking on a tightrope towards the end of 2015. And of course, Pierre Gasly, we've seen nearly fall foul of the same situation. But Kevin Magnussen has finally breached the regulations, and he's now the one who will be serving a race ban. I think he'll be the first driver to do so since Romain Grosjean in 2012. And all I can say is when you have a penalty point system like this, he cannot come out and say, I was not warned, or say, oh, I'm unlucky. Like, dude, the regulations literally state if you get 12 points, you're out. So no sympathy from me, even though I do class myself as a Kevin Magnussen fan. I just can't feel sorry because, dude, even for like, I'm sorry, even I can't help but think that Kevin Magnussen is a bit too aggressive, and he has to ask him, you know, and I don't think Kevin Magnussen is ever going to learn, I'm afraid, because he is now, what, 31 years old? I don't know. You know what? I think I know some people might not be watching, but I think I might do a poll of who do I think is more likely to fight for the championship, Norris or Leclerc. Yeah, I do enjoy it, but it is a bit too excessive, especially nowadays with, you know, how strict the FIA are in general. Oh, and 1 vote apiece for Stroll and Norris. That's interesting. I know we were having a debate on Chaz HD's F1 channel about who's been a better driver this season, but I think I did say in my mid-season review before Zan thought that I thought that Charles Leclerc had actually been the second best driver, and that I thought Norris had only been the sixth best driver. I mean, it is pretty much touch and go between Norris and the two Mercedes drivers in terms of who I think's been like the third or fourth best driver. Of course, I think Carlos Sainz. I actually put Carlos Sainz third, but you could put Norris as high as third, but at the same time, I'm just very disappointed at how he's not maximising opportunities. And of course, McLaren, I have to say, I do question if McLaren had a more ruthless number one in the team, I think they would have demanded Piastri to pull over for second place. Like Alonso, Hamilton, Verstappen, Vettel, you name it. Like even Kimi Räikkönen probably would have asked the team to maybe like tap Piastri on the shoulder and pull over, make him pull over and let Kimi have second place, because yeah, I think McLaren are probably beginning to sit there and think that Piastri could be their future number one, not Norris. And I have to say, today's race. I mean, it's just so disappointing for Norris. Huge opportunity to take a huge chunk out of Verstappen's lead, and he blew it. He bottled it on a weekend where Red Bull clearly have only the fourth fastest car in the sport. What a disappointing outcome for both Norris and McLaren. Shocking, really. And they are still, I mean, yes, they're 10 points behind Red Bull in the constructor standings, but that's a lot of that is due to how poor Perez is, to be honest. Not really. I don't really think that's much to say about whether the McLaren drivers have been that good, because truth be told, I don't think the McLaren drivers have been that good, but Perez has been rank awful this season. Yeah, I'm fed up with Norris as well. I agree with you. He should have 7 wins by now. Like, and that's not even an exaggeration. I know others have gone as far as to say that Norris should have 8 or 9 wins, but it's such a shame. Like, I mean, if Norris can't do it, then I hope Leclerc then steps up to make a late dash to fight Max this season. Yeah, I think Norris should. I don't think he should be leading, but I think he should be there or thereabouts with Max. And like, he should be within like 15 points of Max for the championship at this point. Should be far closer. And I think Norris should honestly be, at least at the very minimum, be on the verge of overtaking Max in the championship. But yeah, I'm hoping Ferrari and Leclerc pick up their pace in the second half of the year. I mean, look, I think, this is his 6th year in Formula One, so, all these excuses about Norris being a young, inexperienced driver are surely going to be out of the window, because he started his F1 career 4 years after Max did in 2015, and, Leclerc is only, about 2 years older than Norris, and he's only got, like, another year of experience more than Norris, so it's not like, I mean, people have been a lot harsh on Charles Leclerc, of course, but yet for me, Charles Leclerc has done so much more in his career than Norris has done. Way more. I hope, I hope for, I mean, I'd love to see Singapore be a more regular race fixture. Yeah, but, I think if Ferrari can repeat this sort of strategy and Leclerc can repeat this sort of pace, like, I really do hope Leclerc makes a late dash for the championship fight this year now. Like, yeah, I mean, we blasted Vettel, we blasted Kimi. Like, yeah, it's only fair that we do the same for Norris. You're absolutely correct, Will. Like, this is really disappointing for Norris. I'm so disappointed. Like, I like him as a person, but, he talks about how he gets nerves at starts, and I do think he does have a problem with, like, decision-making under pressure. Like, he's a nice bloke, but I do sit there and think he does come across like Rubens Barrichello, where he just doesn't seem to have that ruthless streak to go with the talent he's got, like that huge, prodigious talent he's actually got. But, he just suddenly becomes like paralyzed with fear, and when he has to like sit there and make a big decision halfway through a race or something. or at the start, or on on the grid with the start lights in front of him, and he just starts panicking and think, "Oh no, should I go full throttle? Should I put 30% throttle down before I pull the clutch?" He just can't deal with it. He just can't deal with it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've got to agree with Will. Like, I would rather see Leclerc fight for the championship now. Like, I think Leclerc, I know Leclerc can be quite consistent. I know Leclerc can be too aggressive at times, but Leclerc is a bit more calmer under pressure than Norris. Who is more likely to fight Max for the championship? I mean, what's it? 4 votes in favor of Leclerc, just one for Norris. I think everyone's belief in Lando Norris is completely extinguished, to be honest. And I think the fact that McLaren did not bother to call Piastri over for team orders is very telling of what the team really thinks of Norris. In that he is probably going to eventually end up becoming like a David Coulthard or a Rubens Barrichello or Mark Webber, and then he's just going to end up being number 2. It's sad to say, but I can't see it. I can't see Lando Norris ever being trusted to become a number 1 with the team. I think next year, if Piastri can be more consistent with his race pace and his qualifying performances and outpace Norris more regularly, then it's curtains for Lando Norris in terms of actually being like a leading contender in the sport. You know, I know he's very popular with like women and females because he's very... He doesn't have that sort of like aggression that you get with like many other drivers, but the fact is, though, this is not the sort of driver that really is the sort of person to fight for championships. He doesn't really, you know, it's that mentality that makes a difference between like the very best drivers and the really good drivers in Formula 1. Yeah, today was the last chance. Today was the last chance. What a shame. I really feel sorry for Norris, but you know, I did say he's got to make a good start, and he failed to make a good start, and he blew it yet again. So, you know, what can you do? Like, you can't really fix a driver that has, like, a mental crisis when it comes to race starts and racecraft. You know, I mean, there's only this, you know, wrap your arm around the drivers, around their shoulders and give them a hug and all that. I mean... Yeah, Norris is good as a number 2, but he's not a championship contender. That's all I'm going to say. Like, decent race pace, decent all-round pace, but in terms of that killer edge, it's not there. He's not like someone who's going to ram someone off the road consistently, like Max, Lewis, Alonso, Vettel, if they have to do it. Hell, I mean, even Kimi Räikkönen and Bottas had more of a killer edge in their peak during the mid-2000s, and you know, we all saw Nico Rosberg push Lewis Hamilton off the road a couple of times when he was at Mercedes. Like, he was willing to get his elbows out, and I think even Mark Webber was willing to get his elbows out if he felt like he had to. I mean, with Lando Norris, I mean, the only time we've seen him try and do it was probably Austria, but even that attempt at trying to, I don't know, go wheel to wheel with Max was a bit too hesitant and a bit... Even he wasn't, like, fully blooded in terms of his really playing down a marker with Max. I would go as far to argue to say that his attempt at tapping Max around the back was sort of like Lando trying to be decisive but not having any idea of how to really like make Max panic at all. Yeah, I mean, I really would love to see Norris completely dominate a weekend from start to finish, dominate qualifying, get an amazing race start, win by like 30 seconds, and only like lose the lead during pit stops. But I can't see it. I can't see it. I can't see it. Like, Norris has still not won a race from pole position yet, which is, and he's not like won a race where he's where he basically led all but 2 laps in between pit stops. Like, for me, that would be like a marker to show that, yeah, Lando Norris means business. But you know, out of what could have been a possible 7 or 8 race wins, he's only had 2, which is so sad. That's really sad. And I think Lando is well aware of the fact he's bottled a lot of points, and I think it is very much now like stuck in his conscience. Like, it's damaging his self-belief quite severely now. Like, I have to say, if Piastri keeps improving the way he does, it could be curtains in terms of Norris's hopes of ever becoming a world champion in Formula 1. You know, I said all those things on Chaz's stream in the hopes of, you know, giving Lando Norris one more chance, but I have to say, my belief in Lando Norris is pretty much extinguished after today's performance. Like, yeah, he just doesn't have it. He does not have it. I'm so sad to say it. I just don't feel like Lando Norris is going to be that guy who really does put Max under pressure towards the end of this year. What a shame. What a shame. I mean, Oscar Piastri is far too far behind Max to fight for the championship. Because, of course, you know, Oscar is still basically a rookie. So, you know, I mean, it's going to be until next year till we see Oscar Piastri really become more consistent. I think 4 people have voted in favour of Leclerc, only 2 in favour of Norris, and I think that's pretty much confirmation that today's performance has seriously damaged Norris's reputation as a Formula 1 driver. I can't say much else. I can't say anything else, to be honest. I think that's pretty safe to say that. What a shame. What a shame. Especially on a weekend where Red Bull were clearly having car problems, only the 4th fastest car on the grid. I agree more with Chaz. Yeah, well, he's done well, but it's like Lando Norris has had a lot of what I would call like races that I would rate like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, but very rarely has it been like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, if I'm going to be honest. It's like, yeah, on average, it's like a 7.5 out of 10 for his performances, but it's like that extra 1 or 1.5 out of 10 is completely missing from Norris. Like, that ability to go to the next level is not there. To really grind out like a dominant performance over the race distance is just not there for Lando. Get all the aspects correct, like overtaking, race starts, race strategy. It's not there for Norris. So, yeah, I mean, I actually now agree with Will. I think Will has very much won the debate on Lando Norris. I've got to have to concede it. I mean, the only reason why I gave Lando Norris a chance is because I want to see a championship fight between Max and Norris, but no, it's not happening. I think we have to face reality. Like, the guy just doesn't... You know, he's talked a lot about his nerves and his mental health, and I have to say, the more that a driver talks about those sort of problems they have mentally, it does make you really lose belief mentally, I'm afraid. Yeah, I mean, apart from Canada and the triple header, yeah, Leclerc's been actually very consistent. I think very few people have been like, I think a lot of people have been really ignoring how good Leclerc's been, especially the British media. Like, we really do need to talk about how good Charles Leclerc is. Like, I know, yeah, the second half of 2022 and 23 were pretty poor for Leclerc, but I think he's now back on form, and I think he's the one who's now very much maturing as an F1 driver. We've got to start giving some praise to Leclerc, and I hope Leclerc steps up. And of course, you know, I hope Piastri can start to become more consistent throughout the second half of this year and really begin to become a contender next year and fight Max along with Leclerc. As for Lewis Hamilton, I have no idea where he will fare compared to Leclerc, but I think Leclerc will really start to turn on his A game to try and stop Hamilton from like beating him. I mean, yeah, Leclerc was quite unlucky in 2022. I think having Lewis Hamilton will definitely push Charles Leclerc to the next level, because I think Charles Leclerc will be well aware that the fact he will really push his consistency level to the next level against Lewis Hamilton, because we all know, yeah, Lewis Hamilton has lost his qualifying pace, but he is still pretty good over race distance. So, you know, yeah, you can't be like making mistakes over a race distance against Lewis Hamilton. Even if Lewis is like qualifying 6th or 7th, you've still got to get a good race performance against him to cover him off. Because even if Hamilton qualifies like 7th all the time, like, you can expect Hamilton to make up places throughout the race. And I think I've very much made my conclusions. Thank you to everyone watching here at Crystal Racing. It's been an enjoyable 2.5 hours, like, talking about the race, even though the race ended about 50 minutes ago. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.